Well, turkey season's right around the corner, and in this video, we're going to bring you 5 simple tips to help you learn how to use a turkey mouth call the right way. The first tip is that everybody's mouth is different. So when you're blowing a mouth call, some people have the airflow down the left side, some people have it go down the center, and some go down the right. So when you start getting into different cuts of calls, each individual is going to naturally be able to call with one of those cuts better than the others. So just because Joe Schmo can make cut A sound fantastic doesn't mean that you're going to be able to make that call sound fantastic. So just be aware of that. The second tip is that when you get into multi-reed calls, those reeds will stick together if you don't put a spacer between them. So when you're first starting out using a mouth call and you get a multi-reed call, that call is going to potentially sound different every time you pick it up depending on whether or not those reeds are sticking together. So you at the very least want to start putting spacers in between the reeds to keep them from sticking together so that you get that same consistent sound from that call every time. The third tip is, with those previous 2 tips in mind, you need to make sure that you have the right call when you're starting out. Now, unfortunately, the call industry has gotten to the point where they're all about multi-reed calls and different cuts and all that stuff, and you don't need any of that when you're first starting out because that's just going to complicate things and add additional variables into whether or not you sound good and you're using the proper mechanics when you're mouth calling. So what you really need is a single reed mouth call. And so unfortunately, there are not very many on the market. This is a Strutt'n Ridge greenhorn, and it is brand new this year. And so we got one and gave it a try and absolutely love it. So what that does is it eliminates any need for air channel. It's gone because there's just one reed, so you don't have to worry about what your air channel is. And secondly, because it's only one reed, the reeds aren't going to stick together. So it's going to sound exactly the same every time you pick it up and put it in your mouth. And it's also critical because then when you're doing what I call drive time practicing, which is the best time to practice when you're driving to and from either work or someplace else, not driving the family crazy, you can take it out of your mouth, put it in its case, pick it back up, not worry about the reeds sticking together, and be good to go. So definitely pick up a single reed mouth call, and I recommend the Strutt'n Ridge greenhorn mouth call. And there will be a link to that call in the description below. Alright, so now that we got some of the basics out of the way to help you understand what's actually happening and set you up on the best possible foot, the fourth tip is to break the yelp down. So when you're starting, you need to make sure that you're breaking the yelp down. It's a 2-note yelp. There's a high note and a low note. So when you first start, you should be practicing the high note by itself and the low note by itself before you start trying to bring them together. So let's see what the high note sounds like. So the high note is going to be higher tongue pressure, and you're just going to blow, and you're going to go for a constant high-pitched noise. And the nice thing about the single reed call is it doesn't take a ton of air pressure to make the call make the noise. So, put it in, use the middle of your tongue up against the call, and you're going to blow air out with your diaphragm. And it's going to sound like this. And you literally should just sit there until you can hold that note constant for however long you need to hold it. And when you can do that, then you've got the top end of the yelp nailed down. If you're not doing it right, it's going to sound like a few different things, like so if you're getting that lower note, you just increase the tongue pressure until it goes into that high-pitched note. Vice versa, the bottom end of the yelp is that lower pitched note. So you want to be able to just go from that high to that low, but you just want to be able to hold it. And it sounds like this. And you do that by dropping your tongue off the call and dropping your jaw just a little bit. When you have those 2 pieces in place, then you can start bringing them together. And that's just starting with the high and then dropping your jaw and then bringing your jaw back up and and going through that. And as you get used to being able to hold that high and that bottom, you'll be able to know when you're dropping in between those. So that'll get you making fantastic yelps, and if you can make a fantastic yelp or even an average yelp, then you'll be able to kill turkeys. And that's the important thing to note about even the single reed call, is it does everything you need it to do. So it's a very cheap alternative for you to be able to just pick up a call, relatively low risk, and also be able to kill turkeys with it when you get going. The fifth and final tip is to just not get caught up when you're first starting out calling. Watching these videos of these guys that are just phenomenal callers, they string their notes together, they're just really good. If you watch some of the natural turkey videos out there, we have a couple, we'll put a link to one at the end of this video. They aren't just rattling off notes. So if you get good at the yelp, you're gonna kill turkeys. And then as you start to add more calls to it, just take your time. Don't try to go too fast. You can, it's better to be hitting the notes well and being slower than it is to be trying to go with like this crazy excited yelp that then just sounds like a fly down cackle every time you do it. And so when you start getting into that stuff, just take your time and just, if you're gonna start doing cuts, hit them and go. That's all you have to do. You don't have to go any faster than that. So just take your time, practice the notes, and don't put too much pressure on yourself because of all the videos out there of these guys that are making fantastic sounds. Well, I hope these tips will give you a great starting foundation for using a mouth call. If you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and check out some more of our videos, and check out the Strutt'n Greenhorn single reed call with the link to the description below. Thanks for watching.